one with a really, really unique, amazing story. His name is Rohan Maclaren, and he left the fashion industry as one of Australia's top male models to then lead the Rwandan Development Board, the Australian office of the development arm of the Rwandan government. And then he went on a quest and he had this calling of serving humanity. He is passionate about encouraging youth to more positively connect with themselves and to reach their potential. He has spent a year meditating in the Himalayas and has a really beautiful story of transformation and where each thing led him to, and his quest for the answers in life. So I welcome Rohan to join us now.
Thank you. Namaste. Yes, it's such a pleasure to be here and be involved in this International Youth Day event. And it's so heartening to see such energy amongst the other participants and youth and passion towards inclusivity and action. And for that, we as a humanity should be eternally grateful. A day like International Youth Day is so critical because as we look at humanity today and humanity in the past, we look that we've come from a situation where we've lived in division and separation, where for too long, me instead of we has ruled. And we've lived in a way which has been essentially at war with the natural world and Mother Nature. And as I reflect on this theme for this International Youth Day, for global youth engagement in global action, I started to ask the question, is that how to engage the youth correctly and for what kind of action? If we do not engage our youth correctly, we have the youth being engaged with no direction leads to a tug of war, a screaming match, and I'm right, you're wrong. We need empowered youth leaders to be empowered in the correct way, who are engaged in striving for goodness, to dismantle the negative structures that no longer serve us, and to build new positive structures, such as value-based education, and focus on enabling connectivity of one another and ourselves. My journey from a fashion model has been quite an interesting learning phase, about youth engaged in global action. And this journey, I hope, can show others lessons on how they can be enabled to find their own path of engagement and positivity to pursue to the empowerment of humanity. I was initially a model, and basically the idea of success for many is for name and fame and to be recognized, to earn money, and to basically have a lot of credits to go towards you. But what I realized when I got there was that I realized that after all this, I was living for myself and I was not living for others. And I was living in a way which basically left me, to be honest, quite miserable. And so naturally, I started thinking about how I might be able to change. And the natural thought was to start to live and start to act for others. And I started working for the Rwandan government. And I was working in the Australian office for it, helping to empower people over in that country in a way which to create large, long-lasting impact for a lot of people on the ground there. A lot of the work that I was doing was really impactful, but I still felt that something was missing. In essence, I was a youth engaged in global action, but still something was wrong. And what I realized there was that the action will remain unsatisfying unless it comes from the right place, and that's without the connectivity to others, we will forever feel separate, and that is not what we need in the world right now. So I also learned a lesson about flexibility, and that once we learn and feel in ourselves that something's not right in our life, that we must adapt to the current situation in a way which promotes our own good. And so I started a new project, and I thought in my mind that maybe if I was working in a way in which I was actually creating a project, delivering the project on the ground, giving things to people, it was going to solve this issue that I was having with feeling separate to the person that I was helping. And I sourced about hundreds of computers and started a project called Village IT, where we brought IT over to young children over in East Timor and Indonesia in order to modernize their education. And I got there, I delivered the project, I was all excited, and I realized that although I was doing something which was for the good of others, I was still not connected to those which I was serving. And it got to the realization that we must be not only engaged in positive action, but it must be connected positive action. And how am I able to feel this connection with others who I'm meant to serve, if I don't feel connected to myself and I feel unable to feel and express the love that I know I must feel and express to live and to serve in authenticity. And so an interesting thing happened. I went and sat on a beach in Australia, and I basically pondered my thought. I was thinking about, if all problems in the world are human problems, then all problems are also human solutions. And if I am actually going to get to the bottom of this and be able to serve with the heart and serve authentically, I must truly understand myself. And if I can't, I will not arrive. And so the recognition came that I needed to go and I needed to meditate and I needed to connect more deeply with myself. So I left Australia with the intention in mind that I would meditate deeply for 1 year, I would look after my body, and I would focus on my spirituality. And so I spent an entire year meditating in the Himalayas, going from ashram to ashram, spending time up in the sky caves in Mustang, Nepal, near Tibet, where monks have meditated for hundreds of years. I stayed there in isolation, without my phone, without contacts with family, sitting there meditating, watching as past emotions surface to be released, continually, until it got to the end of the year, and I arrived at a position of what I would say is stillness. But something again was still missing. This part of youth engaged in global action, I had only now done the first part which I wanted to solve, which was being positive and connected youth. I had ticked that off the list, but I was no longer engaged in global action. I was no longer engaged in any action in the world. And so that was the end realization, that after this whole cycle of realizing that in order to serve humanity effectively, we must be positive, we must be connected, we must be engaged also in global action, but we must be serving from the heart. And so I came to Pamat Nikatan Ashram, where the overarching duty of the place here is to serve, and to serve without vacation, hesitation, or vacation. And this is exactly what the world needs right now, to have more people engaged in the service of humanity, to help transition into a new normal. And this can only be done if we are encouraging the youth to be empowered positively, to connect deeply with themselves, and to act from the goodness of their heart. And so my messages that I learned from this was that lasting happiness, it's not found in living only for yourself. It is to pay close attention to your lives, and you have to be flexible and make changes, and so that you can adapt and grow and learn lessons. We must all endeavor to cultivate positive habits and behaviors, to live, to strive for goodness with your steadfast character, because unless you focus on developing your character so strongly, you cannot withstand the negative comments of the naysayers who will try to tear you down. We should always exert towards positive goals, focusing on the immediate next step, which are for the good of others, and you will surely succeed in all you do. Also, I really recommend for the youth to meditate, to get to know your mind and understand this incredible supercomputer that's connected with the divine that rests between your ears. Something that we're not born with an instruction manual on how it is to be human. And these are lessons that we have to learn. But if we don't learn how to solve these issues for ourselves, the inside reflects the outside. And how can we solve the problems, the greater issues in the world? The final lesson was to serve and to do good for others. No matter what, you'll leave a positive impact on the lives, so that we, together as a humanity, can be engaged in the global action that we all need.